How to choose your Disney World park tickets. This is Go Inform Podcast, episode 67. Welcome, everybody, to the show. My name's Maven, and this is the Go Inform Podcast, where we talk about how to improve your trip to Disney World and Universal Orlando, and maybe a few other fun locations, too. Thanks for coming along on the trip today. Today, we're going to talk about choosing your tickets, your park tickets for Disney World. And this is kind of just another one of these back to the basics type of episodes that I wanted to give you guys. Choosing your Disney World tickets is one of those things that you may just figure, okay, we know we're going to go, we'll get our tickets, and that's that. But actually, it's, of course, just like almost everything involved with the trip to Disney World, choosing your tickets is a little more complicated than that. So this episode kind of serves as a heads up about some of the things that you're going to want to be aware of and consider before you actually sit down to get those tickets. Show notes for today are going to be at goinform.net/67. And when you head over to that post, you're going to see some detailed numbers, even a kind of a spreadsheet over there, you guys. So for those of you who really want to get into the details, I have quite a few actual examples of what I'm going to be talking about today. So you can dive a little bit more into the details, and hopefully that'll help you figure out how to approach this for your own ticket purchase. You know, Disney World tickets are actually a really big investment. These park tickets aren't cheap. Disney prices them to compete with things like, Broadway shows, NBA basketball games, like big ticket events. And rightly so. I mean, I think the amount of entertainment and enjoyment that you can get from even just a few hours at a Disney park, but especially like if you can do the whole day, is well worth the price of admission. And so obviously, I think it's a great way to spend your money, but you want to be smart about it. You want to know what to expect in terms of the pricing. And, if you're buying multiple tickets for multiple days, it is really going to add up. So today's episode is all about helping you make the most of that investment. So let's dive in and talk about kind of what the parameters are that actually do affect the pricing of the tickets. And also, these are the decisions you're going to need to have figured out before you really pull the trigger and buy your tickets. These are the things Disney's going to want to know in terms of options for the park tickets. So there's really 4 key things that you need to have in mind. First one, how many days will you be visiting the parks? Then how many parks do you want to see on any given day? Do you want to add the Disney water parks or even golf into your park ticket? And what is the first date that you're going to be spending in the parks? Every one of these things is going to affect your ticket pricing, and these are all things that you're going to need to know before you buy the ticket. So let's break it down. Let's take these kind of step by step. So the first thing I want to talk about is how many days you are planning to spend in the parks. You can actually buy a park ticket for Disney World that is good for anywhere from 1 to 10 days. Anything beyond that, you would want an annual pass, and arguably, it might even be less than that where an annual pass would make sense to you. We are not going down that path today, but just keep that in mind if you're planning a really long trip or 2 trips that maybe coincide during the same year. then you may want to look at an annual pass. Otherwise, for most people, they're looking at just regular park tickets. So when you're looking at how many days you're going to spend in the parks, do keep in mind that it's more expensive per day the fewer days you buy ticket for. So a 1-day park ticket is going to be most expensive per day price of any kind of park ticket that you can buy for Disney World. So just to give this some numbers, I looked at some numbers in April of 2021, some pricing. And if you were going to buy a 1-day, 1-park ticket for April 7th in 2021, you would be paying $140 for that 1 day. These, keep in mind too, this is kind of spring break pricing. So this is at the high end of the ticket pricing spectrum. We'll talk a little more about that in a minute, but just to give you guys a real life number. So $140 for the 1 day. If you chose a 2-day ticket for same dates, you would be paying $271 for the 2 days. So it's not a huge break when you buy a 2-day ticket, but it is less than doubling the cost of 1 day. Now, if you start to get out a little further, you'll find that the per day price really starts to go down. The incremental price increase goes way down once you get beyond a 4 or a 5-day park ticket. So, for example, a 4-day, same kind of ticket, 1 park per day ticket, same dates, would be $475, which comes out to a little less than $120 a day. So you can see there your daily price has gone down by buying a longer ticket. If you get a 5-day ticket, it's $506. So for the 5th day, it's only costing $31 more to add that to your park ticket. And this is really a good thing to know about because especially if you're staying on site, you may wonder like, well, should I buy a ticket that covers my arrival day or my departure day because, you're going to be on site? If you may have like a part day in the parks for either your start day or your day you're leaving, it actually might not cost that much more to add that extra day into your ticket. So, if you're staying 4 nights on site at Disney World and your flight gets in your first day noon, you could actually go to the parks for the rest of the day once you check in. And same with if your flight leaves late in the day, you could go to the parks on that departure day in the morning. If it's only $31 extra to add that 5th day onto your ticket, even if you're just going to go into the park for a couple hours, it could be worth it to you. So, and I've talked about this when we were discussing the Universal Orlando tickets too, a couple episodes ago. They want you to buy tickets for multiple days, and they really start breaking down the price once you get, now this is a little bit farther out than Universal. Universal starts breaking the price down really on the 2nd day. At Disney World, you're looking at 4 or 5 days when it becomes incrementally quite low to add those extra days. But do keep it in mind because, again, $31 to add that extra 5th day, that could really be worthwhile. Now, another thing to know about these multi-day tickets is that you don't have to use them all on consecutive days. Disney gives you some days in between that you could be doing something else. So, for example, if you buy a 2-day park ticket, you have to use it within 4 days. So you've got this flexibility. The longer tickets give you a few more extra days in there to have some break days. So it is not consecutive days. So if you're going to be in Orlando for a week, and maybe you're not staying on site, but you plan to go to the Disney parks 3 times, don't buy 3 1-day tickets. Buy a 3-day ticket. You have 5 full days to use it within, and just plan your Disney days to go in those 5 days. Hopefully this is making sense. I'm sorry, you guys that are driving and listening to all these numbers. Refer to the show notes. I have this all in there. But just keep in mind, though, that a multi-day ticket is always going to be a better deal than buying single days. And so if you are planning to go to the parks for multiple days, do buy a multiple day park ticket. All right. So then the next thing that you're going to have to figure out is how many parks do you want to visit on any given day? There are just 2 options at Disney, which makes it a little more straightforward than Universal, who needs more information. So Disney World's options are either a 1 park per day ticket or a park hopper ticket. A park hopper ticket allows you to visit up to all 4 of the theme parks on the same day. Now, there are some modifications to park hopping at Disney World during the COVID-19 operations. And I dive into detail on that in the show notes and also a few other places on the site. And we're actually going to talk more about it in a future episode. So here's the main thing you need to know. If you're at Disney World, probably for all of 2021, but definitely into the summer, you will be able to hop between the parks if you have a park hopper ticket beginning at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So you will have to stay or go to your first park that you have a reservation for first. But then once 1 o'clock comes, you can actually hop over to another park and you could actually go to all the rest of the parks and circle back if you want. So park hopping is a thing at Disney World right now, just slightly modified. You can't hop parks until 1 in the afternoon. It does, of course, cost extra to add this to your ticket, but it might be less than you think. And it really depends on how many days. Once again, this is one of those things where multiple days is a big factor. So the way that park hopping is priced on the Disney tickets is it's kind of a flat addition onto your park ticket. So if you are adding park hopper for 1 day, based on the pricing that I was looking at for April, so you guys, this could change by the time you're looking at it. Park hopping for a 1 day ticket was adding $65. So you were going from a 1 day, 1 park ticket at $140 to a 1 day park hopper ticket at $205. That's a big increase for 1 day. On the other hand, if you only have 1 day to go to Disney World, you might want to see more than one of the parks. I mean, it totally depends on how you want to tour in the parks. But if you're like, I'm going there for 1 day and I am going to see Epcot and Magic Kingdom, then pay that extra money and add park hopper so you can do that. In that case, I think it's totally worth it. But if you are planning multiple days, then the flat add-on is not going to cost as much incrementally per day. So if you're going for 2 or 3 days, it's a $75 add-on. So over the course of the 3 days, that's $25 a day extra that you're paying for park hopper. If you are staying longer, then it's even less. It just keeps going down per day. So again, this is like a spreadsheet that I have on the show notes. But, you know, you can easily, when you start getting into like 5 days or more, it's less than $20 a day to have the park hopper added on. So do keep it in mind if you want that flexibility to go between the parks. And some of the reasons why You might want to add park hopper to your ticket, or if you want to start your morning really early at an attraction, you've got something that you're going to rope drop because that's the best way to get on it. Something like Flight of Passage in Animal Kingdom. So you're going to start your day there really early, but you're probably not going to want to spend the whole day in that park. You really want to go to Epcot for dinner that day. That is a good example of where park hopping can really work out. You start one place, but you've got plans for the evening in another. You may want just flexibility. Sometimes one park can get busy, even now with limited capacity. There could be an attraction that you were planning to ride in one place and then it's not operating. So now you'd really like to be able to hop over to another park and check something else out. You have that option with a park hopper ticket. Maybe you just like the challenge of seeing more than one park in one day. You could even see all 4 parks in one day. It's a little more challenging now that you have to wait till 1, but you could do it. And, it might be just one of those things where there's a certain park you really want to see after dark, but you don't want to spend the whole day there. So there's a lot of reasons to consider park hopping, and you need to figure that out before you go to buy your tickets. So that way you get the right ticket for you. So let's see, we've figured out how many days you're going to visit the parks and whether you want to add park hopper. So there is one other option that Disney's going to ask you in regard to your tickets, and that is, do you want to add the water parks and golf onto your ticket? And this is a little bit confusing when you're on their ticketing site, because what they do is they say, would you like to add the water park and sports option or the park hopper plus option? And those are their branded terms for adding in the water parks and the golf course. It just depends on if you're buying a 1 park per day ticket or a park hopper ticket. But either way, you can, for a flat fee, you can add the admission to the 2 water parks and also the Oak Trail Golf Course. They are on site at Disney World. You can also just buy admission to these things separately. This is one of those things, and I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on that here, but this is just some advice. If you think you're going to want to go to the water parks or you're a golfer, you should investigate this ahead of time before you go to buy your tickets, because it's possible that just bundling it into your park ticket will be less expensive than if you buy that admission separately. If you don't think you're going to do any of those things, then skip that. Don't add it onto your ticket. There's ways to modify your tickets later if you change your mind. So I would advise stick with what you know you're going to use. But do know that this is an option. And really, this is just kind of a heads up when you see that, when you're choosing your tickets, that is what that is. Okay. And then the last thing is the date-based pricing. So Disney prices their tickets depending on which dates you are going to be in the parks. It's more expensive on the days where they expect to reach capacity in the parks than it is on, low season times. So when you're looking at the pricing for your dates, it's actually really useful to take a look at the pricing calendar before if you have flexibility on your dates, look at this pricing calendar before you even choose your dates. Because sometimes during a month, there can be a big difference in ticket pricing between 1 week to the next. And that's often related to school breaks and holidays and stuff like that. And if you are able to travel kind of whenever, then you can pick a time where not only will your ticket prices be lower, but that indicates that there will be fewer guests in the parks too. So you should have lower wait times and, less crowd and all that stuff if you go at a time when the ticket prices are lower. If you don't have that flexibility, if you are looking at pricing for your dates that are peak pricing, The ticket pricing right now is topping out around $160 for a 1-day, 1-park ticket. The lowest price is coming in around $110. So that is a pretty big range. So, if you are near the top or the bottom of that, it's a good indication about what to expect for crowds. And, if you are near that peak price, just make sure that you do your homework about ways to handle, longer wait times and stuff like that. And if your pricing is high, then that is a good indication that you need to get a hold of your tickets and make your park reservations as soon as possible. And that is the next point that I want to make. Because of Disney World's system right now, where you need to make a reservation to indicate which park you're going to start in for every day of your trip, you need to get your tickets as soon as you have your dates figured out, because you cannot make a park reservation until you have a park ticket. Now, you don't actually have to pay out 4 figures to buy the park tickets for your entire family for your trip that's not happening for 6 more months. You don't actually have to pay for the whole tickets right now if you book your tickets and your hotel in a Disney package. And so if you are planning to stay on site or potentially with one of what Disney considers their good neighbor hotels in the nearby area, you can book that and pay a $200 refundable deposit right now and be considered to be owning your park tickets. So, for example, if it is May and you are looking at dates in December for your trip, you're going to go at Christmas. That is a really busy time. A lot of people are going to want to visit then too. And there's still probably going to be limited capacity, which means that you're going to have competition for getting those park reservations. If you know those are your dates and you can get a hold of some tickets right now so you can make your park reservations right now, you will have your pick of which parks to go to on which days. If you wait until a month or two before the trip, and that's when you buy your tickets, then look at the reservation schedule. The calendar might be pretty darn full. So this is just a warning. I kind of harped on it in the last episode. So if you want to know more about that, listen to that episode. But just know that getting a hold of your tickets sooner rather than later is really, really important during the COVID operations. And again, one of the ways to do it without making a full outlay for the tickets is to book that package so you can just pay a deposit and make your park reservations right now. If you're staying off site, then you're just going to have to suck it up and buy those park tickets as soon as you can so you can get those reservations made. So can you get Disney World tickets at a discount? This is, a really good question. And the answer is yes. Usually you can get some Disney World tickets at a discount. You can rarely get a 1-day ticket discounted. Maybe for local Florida residents, they may once in a while offer something like that. But for most of us, 1-day ticket, you're just going to pay full price. But often you can find discounts on multi-day tickets through organizations like AAA, a lot of the national retailers, like Costco and Walmart and places like that sometimes offer discounted Disney tickets. And there are online resellers who also offer discounted tickets. The main thing to know is just to make sure you're buying them from a reputable source. Disney does occasionally discount tickets in their packages. And they did that at the beginning of 2021. They offered a discount for people who booked certain packages with the hotels on site. So once in a while, you will see that. Will we see any more of that in 2021 from Disney? I'm not exactly sure. I think probably if you want to get a discount on these tickets, you're going to have to get them, through a third party. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. Remember that the show notes are on this website and have a lot more detail. Those are at goinform.net/67. Main things I just want you guys to remember about this is to, get familiar with how the park tickets work early on in your planning. Don't wait to buy those tickets. Use that date-based ticket calendar as an indicator for what to expect for your dates. And consider all those options before you sit down to buy your tickets. You guys, thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope you are getting close to planning or even going on your trip to Disney World and Orlando. It's a very exciting time, and I'm glad to be here to help you guys get there. Make sure that if you're not already, that you sign up for the email newsletter. It comes out just a couple times a month, and you can sign up for that over on the website at goinform.net/newsletter. And then you'll get these kind of tips right straight into your inbox. And thanks again for joining me, and I will catch you guys next time.